Hi there, smart drivers. Talking to you tonight about traffic signs, those things that are there on the roadways, just about everywhere on the roadways, and few drivers actually take the information from these road signs along the roadway. I'm going to show you which signs are the most prolific along our roadways that are going to stop you from running into structures along the roadway, fixed objects as we call them. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to give you that information and help you to prepare for your driver's test. If you're not going for a driver's test, you already have your license to be a safer, smarter driver. And traffic signs are particularly important for CDL drivers, those driving big trucks, larger vehicles, RVs, or renting a U-Haul. Important, and I'm going to show you why. Nickel City's here. Hello, my friend from Sudbury, Ontario. Authentically Odd, just getting your AZ there in Toronto. My friend Joe is here, just outside of Toronto. Overcast, and the air feels a tad dampish. Emmanuel, hello, my friend. Mallory, tuning in from the Maritimes and Rain Craze. Thank you for those compliments. I'm so happy to hear that I can help out to get not only a license, but also to keep you safe and out of trouble after you get a license. Elevator fan, greetings from Monticello, Indiana. Hello, hello. Jessica says she needs some luck, and she says she's taking her 5th driving test on Thursday. You're going to do great. Remember to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and that will help you to relax. That'll cause your body to relax. Nilajan, I'm a fan of yours videos. Hello. Jessica says she's taking her test in Northern Virginia in the United States. Yes, just below Washington, D.C. there. Jacqueline, I want to know why am I... Okay, excellent. So, Bricks for Wheels, Corey is the moderator. He does an excellent job of keeping out the bad people and getting up the videos that I suggest you have a look at. And for Odd there, who's getting his AZ in Toronto, you want to look at the video on top 11 signs for CDL drivers, because there are some that are more specific for CDL drivers that you didn't pay attention to before, that now as a driver of a larger vehicle, you need to, in fact, pay attention to those signs. Overhead signs, or not overhead signs, but height signs, mile marker signs. All of this is going to help you to navigate. I know we're in the day and age of GPS, navigation on our phones and those types of things, but there are things along the roadway that you need to pay attention to that will keep you safe while you're driving a larger vehicle. Karmic, hello from Michigan. I am taking my test Thursday morning. I want to know all the tips. Thank you. And yes, we can help you for all of that. Authentically Odd. I'm a girl, by the way. No, you're a woman, because you're going to be driving a big truck. I don't think that we let girls drive trucks. I mean, what is the definition anyway? I'm just going to leave that alone, because I'm probably going to get into trouble, and I don't want to get into trouble. It's too early for getting into trouble already. All right, so we'll help you with all of that. Yes, and leaves on the road can be a hazard when it rains, especially at intersections. If you have a lot of leaves on the roadway and those types of things. Right out here at the corner around from where I live, we have 3 chestnut trees that drop a lot of leaves on the roadway right there. And yes, if you hit those with the brakes and you're coming up to an intersection, so take note of road hazards when you're driving at this time of the year. The other thing that you need to be concerned about, I don't subscribe to it, but black ice. Ice is going to form on the roadways in the morning after a night when the temperature dips to near freezing, and you've had moisture in the air overnight. So that's what's going to happen. So beware of that. Where are we going to get black ice forming? Bridges and overpasses are going to freeze first. Low-lying areas, any area that's in shadow, there's a tall building, there's a cliff or whatnot, where the roadway runs past a body of water, or high elevations. These are the places that you're going to get ice forming on the roadway. So take note of the temperature, not only when you go out in the morning, but also take note of how much precipitation is in the air. Does it feel moist in the morning? That, if there's, and the other landmark to look for is if there is ice on the roofs of the houses that you're driving past, there's a good chance there's going to be ice on the roadways as well. So know that this time of year that it's particularly important to take note of the outside temperature, because it's far more slick when the temperature is near freezing, 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. And because what happens is the water is freezing and thawing when it's around the freezing temperature. So take note of that, because there's a layer of water on top of the ice, and that's going to lubricate it. Sebastian, also in heavy rain, don't go on cruise control. Yes, if traffic conditions are deteriorating, you definitely don't want to be using cruise control, heavy rain, and those types of things. And Corey's put up the video on how to drive on black ice. Automatically odd. We have to carry chains. Yes, we do. And there was the Coquihalla, which is the major pass on the highway number 5. It's not the Trans-Canada. That's the Fraser Canyon. They did have chain up today. So chain up in effect for big trucks. So know that as well. Goose, no such thing as black ice. I've never gone to a pop machine and black ice comes out. Just kidding. And yes, Goose, you and I are on the same page. No such thing. But unfortunately, that's what people know it as. They call it black ice. It's black ice in the media, so we'll just go along so that everybody understands what it is. It's just ice. Ice that forms on the roadway. And most of the time, it's going to form in the morning. And it's going to form in the morning because there's been reduced traffic, or there hasn't been any traffic at all. Because think of a river. The river only freezes in the winter time where the water is calm. It doesn't freeze in rapids and those types of things. So if you have a lot of traffic going over the roadway, it's less likely that you're going to get ice forming on the roadway. But if you get overnight where the traffic dissipates and there's no traffic for the course of the night, in the morning you're going to get ice on that section of roadway. My friend Tim is here from Drive Smart BC. If you're in the province of British Columbia and want to know more about traffic safety, why your road isn't being maintained, court decisions affecting traffic safety, policing, laws, anything to do with traffic safety, check out Drive Smart BC. Excellent website over there as well. Traffic safety authorities engaged in a forum, and you can participate and ask questions there as well. So check out Tim's site, Drive Smart BC. Randy, hi Rick, I am doing my driving license for Florida on the 8th of November. Can I get some help in what to look for? Absolutely. After the presentation, I'll go through the different categories of things that you need to hit to be successful on passing your driver's test. And I don't mean that, pardon the pun there, I don't mean hit, because you don't want to hit anything on your driver's test because that's an automatic fail, striking a fixed object. And that includes concrete barriers, cones, anything such as that. Don't do that. Don't hit anything. Tim says road is good where the tires roll but move either any and you could be on ice, and that is absolutely true. Thank you for that. Okay, excellent. Jessica, someday I want to drive something like a Honda Ridgeline. That's a normal size truck, not anything too big. My first car won't be a truck, but I'll work up to it. Jessica, you probably don't want to drive a Ridgeline. I'm a huge Honda fan, but Ridgeline has a bit of identity crisis. It's not really sure whether it's a car. It's not really sure whether it's a truck. It's just one of those vehicles that Honda didn't really get right. Maybe a Tacoma, a Toyota Tacoma. Go for the Toyota. I would suggest, the Ridgeline. It's interesting. It makes a statement for sure, but it's not sure whether it's a truck or whether it's a car or an SUV. It's kind of a mix of all three. Odd, they have trick questions and misleading verbiage on the written test. Odd, you're absolutely right. They do. Doing practice driving test questions is going to help you out with the learner's test for both your air brakes, your Z endorsement, and for the Class A license test that you're going to be taking. Mallory says that they had fog there today, and if you do have fog, that's an indication that you could have black ice, proverbial black ice on the roadways in the morning. If you wake up and there's fog, there's a possibility that you could have ice on the roadway, so take note of that. Yes, autocorrect meant either way. There you go. Yes. Okay, Tim. So yes. So what Tim is saying is if you're in the main tracks of the road and there isn't a great deal of traffic and it's morning, there's been fog overnight, you could get ice on the roadway, and if you move either out of those ruts on either side where the traffic rolls all the time, move left or right a little bit, and you're going to be into ice. So you got to kind of figure out if you get caught out, and there is a video of me here driving on ice where I got caught out. Simply I moved to the left and got out of the main tracks, and I was able to get a bit of traction. Or you get off onto the shoulder of the road and you can find a bit of traction there and get out of the path that the other vehicles are taking. Elevator fan, the vehicle ahead of me ran a red light at Fisher Main Street in Monticello, Indiana. And they do that. I have caught on dash cam today a car running the stop sign at the railway crossing here in town. And it happens. People do it. They run red lights. They run stop signs. This is why, before you proceed through an intersection, map intersections and track road users. And that's why when drivers ask me, why do I shoulder check a half a block before the turn? You're shoulder checking to map and figure out where road users are, because as you're moving to the intersection and moving through the intersection, you want to be tracking those road users because they're going to move. They're going to change their position on the roadway. It's all relative to where you are, and with correct observation, you're going to map and track those road users, and as you're coming through the intersection, you're going to be looking, you're going to be, hey, that car is not slowing down, that car is not stopping, I better cover the brake, I better get my foot on the brake, because there's a good possibility that that person could run the stop sign, that person could run the traffic light, and they're going to crash into me. So this is what you need to do to keep yourself safe, not only when you're practicing for your driver's test, but to keep yourself safe after you get your license. Mapping and tracking road users, because where are they? Where's all the fixed objects? What do I got to navigate? Where do I got to go? What's that pedestrian doing? Where is that pedestrian going? What is their trajectory? Because I've seen pedestrians, you're sitting at the light halfway across and then they just cut a corner, an angle off on the other side. So you have to be prepared for all of that and try and figure that out and keep yourself safe. So what we're going to do here, questions and answers. We'll come back, we'll answer some more questions and those types of things, and do the presentation about 10 or 12 minutes, go through that, traffic signs, give you an overview of that, and we'll come back and we'll answer any questions. Joe, I spun out and did a 360 on Highway 40 east of Montreal. A storm came through and rained just before. Then a cold front froze it all solid. It was tense. Joe, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was going to Vancouver Island from here a couple of years ago. Same thing. Got up at the other end. It was 97C going to Kamloops, or Fruit Loops as we like to call it, and hit a bit of black ice, and the cars went around in a circle. Same thing. It's kind of like, oh my God. Yeah, it's a bit daunting for sure. Mallory says they're expecting some warmer weather this week. Awesome. All right, so let's get over to the presentation here, talking about traffic signs, road signs this evening, and giving you information about how to glean the information from the road signs at a glance. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver in the 1990s, hauling freight between Ontario, Canada, and the United States, mostly east of the Mississippi, up and down the eastern seaboard, but I did make it out to the western states and the Midwest a few times. Became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997, earned my doctorate in legal history in 2006 from the University of Melbourne in Australia, where I lived and worked for almost 5 years. Drove buses for Greyhound there and one of the regional bus lines. And in 2015, I started the YouTube channel and the online business, and it has been wildly more successful than I could have ever imagined. 250,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. With shorts, we hit 1 million views a month. Absolutely incredible success in helping thousands and thousands of people to get their license and to be safer, smarter drivers. And if you want to know more about all of that, you can check out the autobiography over at the Smart Drive Test channel. Good stuff to check out. Why defensive driving? Why do you want to incorporate techniques and strategies of defensive driving models, especially Scope 3, which is the one that I have developed, which defines the problem of driving as social driving, all of the habits and skills that other drivers employ, mostly following too close and being reactionary in their driving. And this is the problem that you are facing. The tools that you can employ are speed and space management, observation and communication, and these will keep you safe when you're driving. Also, look at the podcast for distracted driving to get some information about the gravity of that problem. Signs convey information in 3 ways: the shape of the sign, the colors they're on, and the words or symbols that are written on the sign. And they are categorized in several main categories. So regulatory signs, which means regulation, which is the law, cautionary signs, construction signs, and school zone signs. And there's some other as well that are important as well, but keep all of this in mind when you're studying for your learner's permit or you want more information about how to be a safer, smarter driver. So road sign classes, regulatory, I got ahead of myself here is what happened. School signs, cautionary signs, object marker signs, which I will argue are the most prolific signs along the roadway, lane control signs. These are all classifications of different road signs. Object marker signs. These are tall rectangular signs with hash marks on them. They're the most prolific signs along the roadway because they warn you of fixed structures and on which side to pass the fixed structures. So pass left, right, or on both sides. And for Odd there, who's getting Class A Z license, these object marker signs are really going to help you out from pulling the trailer into a light standard or a traffic island or those types of things. So these are very important for larger vehicles, and you can have a look at that video on object marker signs. Regulatory signs, as I said, the root word of regulatory is regulation, which means the law. Stop signs, speed signs, railway crossing signs, and brake check signs. These are all signs that must be obeyed. And if you want an automatic fail on your driver's test, which of course is goofy because nobody wants an automatic fail on the driver's test, action contrary to a regulatory sign. That means that you sped, you didn't come to a complete stop at a stop sign intersection, or you failed to observe the railway crossing correctly before going across the railway tracks. Know that action contrary to a regulatory sign is an automatic fail on a driver's test. Intersection signs, these will keep you safe. We know that more than 40% of crashes happen at intersections, so you want to be able to identify intersections. Where are they? What road users are currently in the intersection? What are they doing? And again, we come back to the mapping and tracking road users to keep yourself safe. It's not just a matter of coming up to the intersection and looking. It's an active engagement of observation, mapping and tracking those road users. All right. Roundabouts, Y intersections, offset intersections. These are all different types of intersections, and these are all the different kinds of signs. Most, if not all, are cautionary signs that are going to warn you of different intersections. As well, the one with the railway crossing on it could tell you that there's a train coming. If the train is coming and you are driving and you can hear the whistle, because they whistle a lot now, they blow the horn a lot on the trains. The train is coming, you know that traffic is going to be backed up at that intersection and there's going to be a lot of congestion after the train passes. So you can predict traffic patterns by reading the traffic signs and taking note of the conditions of the roadway at that point that you arrive at that location. Cautionary signs, warning signs. Some are relevant, some not so much. So if you're driving a car, height signs aren't really important to you. If you're driving a big truck or you're driving an RV or you're driving a U-Haul, then height signs become incredibly important. And we all love watching those YouTube videos of the bridges that kill trucks. So it becomes incredibly important. As well, railway crossings. How many train tracks are there? We also love watching those YouTube videos of trains that clean up semi-trucks. Because the train goes past, they start driving across, and excuse me, the second train is hidden by the first train going past. So, some are relevant, some not so much. Cautionary signs warning you of curves and have a suggested speed limit. These are not regulatory speeds. Sorry. Destination signs will tell you how far it is to the next town or the next village or whatnot. Overhead signs are going to tell you which lane you need to be in for driving a larger vehicle, because in a big vehicle towing a trailer, you're going to have to be in the outside lane. For example, if there's 2 left turning lanes, you want to be in the outside lane to turn left so that the off tracking of the trailer doesn't end up in the other lane, or you don't get caught up on the light standard that's inevitably on the traffic island over on the crossroad. Match the speed of the flow of traffic after you get your driver's license. For the purposes of a driver's test, you have to go the posted speed limit. Know that for the purposes of passing your driver's test. Lane usage signs. Be sure that you're in the correct lane for both a road test and for larger vehicles. But for the purposes of a road test, if you're turning left and there's 2 left turning lanes, again, you want to be in the outside lane. That way you don't have to change lanes when you get around the corner. These are overhead, mostly overhead, and they work in tandem with road marking signs. So it's not like you can miss them if you're looking for them. And again, these are regulatory signs. If you're in a left turning lane and the examiner's told you to go straight, you've either not heard the examiner correctly or you've made a mistake. And if you've made a mistake, you need to figure out how to do that safely. Probably the best thing is to continue with your turn. Say to the examiner, listen, I didn't understand what you were saying in terms of directions, and then figure out how to get back around again. Because if you get into the left turning lane and then you do something goofy and unpredictable and try to get out of that lane to fulfill the examiner's instructions, I can almost guarantee you that that will be a fail on your driver's test. So know that. Mile marker signs, and for odd and other people driving commercial vehicles and working commercially, these will be important because your GPS will give you the exit number. And in most states and most provinces, the exit number is the same as the mile marker. In Canada, of course, is going to be in kilometers. The only state that is different is the state of New York. They like to be a little bit different. Their exit numbers do not match up with their mile marker numbers. Every other state in the lower 48, the mile markers match up with the exit numbers. So this is going to keep you safe, because if you're getting off at exit 60 and you're at exit 55, you know that you've got 5 miles down the road and you're going to get off on exit 60, and you can start moving over to the right-hand lane. Good luck in your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Sorry about that. Thanks. Thank you. Sebastian, are bigger vehicles like an F-150 is likely to do a 360 in a blizzard as smaller vehicles like Ford Focus? Okay, Sebastian, excellent question. And what I'm going to say is an F-150 is not a, it's a large vehicle. It's a big truck. It's a pickup truck, but what you need to know about pickup trucks is they have a different weight equilibrium. All the weight in a pickup truck is in the front of the vehicle. Most pickup trucks now have four-wheel drive. They're shorter wheelbase, so it's not as pronounced as it once was. If you have a long bed pickup truck, it's going to be even more pronounced, the weight imbalance in pickup trucks. And in the wintertime, even if you have four-wheel drive, you have this unequal distribution of weight in a pickup truck. And I can almost guarantee you, if you don't have a lot of driving experience in a pickup truck, you're going to be one of the first vehicles that's going to go into the ditch because of that weight distribution that's not equal in pickup trucks. I call it the pickup truck phenomenon, where you hit the brakes and everything goes to the front where all the weight is, and then you get this fulcrum which spins around that all that weight in the front that you've lifted up the back end of the truck. So pickup trucks are not your best vehicle for the wintertime, even the fact that they do have four-wheel drive for the most part. Joe, a dump truck with the box raised hit a bridge across the 401 in Mississauga last Wednesday, gummed up the eastbound traffic for hours. Driver charged, of course. Joe, I see those, and I can understand that on a car carrier that they leave one of the decks up and the car's too high. But dump trucks, I don't know how these guys do this. I mean, how tired are you that you leave the box up and start driving down the highway? That's my question. How tired are you? TLE, you are most welcome, my friend. Elevator, if you were going north or east, the exit numbers count up. If you were going south or west, the exit numbers count down. Yes, that is correct. Thank you for that, Elevator. And there's also a video on interstates and the numbering of interstates. You can have a look at that. Odd, the switch is far too easy to hit accidentally. I don't know, authentically odd. Okay, there's a few things when I drove semi-trucks I was paranoid about. I was absolutely paranoid about that trailer falling off the back of the truck. Absolutely paranoid to the point where every time I left the truck and went in to have a bathroom break, or I went into a truck stop or whatnot, I would come out, my flashlight, as soon as you opened the door, my flashlight was sitting beside the seat. I would pull my flashlight out, I would walk around, and I would visually check the fifth wheel every time before I started driving away, because I was absolutely paranoid about the semi-trailer falling off the back of the truck. It would be the same thing with a dump truck. When I pulled out of that site where I just finished dumping, I would be absolutely paranoid. I would be checking that switch like 5, 6, 8 times to make sure that the box was down. I'd be checking the mirrors to make sure that the box was down. Yes, it's easy to hit, but it's also one of those things that you need to become paranoid about as a commercial driver, because there are certain things that you really need to be paranoid about, and that's one of them. Okay, sketchy stuff. Would you drive a vehicle with a steering wheel on the right in your area so it would be automatic, manual? What is your reasoning? Sketchy stuff, no. And I personally think that right-hand drive vehicles in North America should be illegal, because the chances of them being involved in a crash are 40% higher than a regular driving vehicle, a left driving vehicle. Our roads are designed for us to sit on the left side of the vehicle. It's the same thing in Australia, vice versa. So no, that's why. The statistics for crashes is just too high, and because of those statistics, I don't even think they should be allowed, period. That's my thinking about that. Elevator fan, nobody obeys the white regulatory speed limit signs. Elevator fan, you're absolutely right about that. Most people think that speed limits are a suggestion, and most people keep up with the traffic flow for sure. I can't say anything about that, but speeding and definitions of speeding are difficult and not something that you can easily nail down. Driving faster than the posted speed limit, driving faster than me, driving faster than the traffic flow, and driving faster than the conditions of the roadway will allow. Those are all definitions of speeding. So is driving faster than the posted speed limit? Maybe, maybe not. But again, keep in mind that posted speed limits are under ideal conditions. So you can take that as you may. Sketchy stuff with the steering wheel on the right, parallel parking is easier. Yeah, sketchy stuff. Is it really worth the trade-off for easier parallel parking? As having a much higher risk of getting into a crash and risking your life and injury and death to yourself or to others? I really don't think so. Odd, they're starting to change charge speeders with stunting. Yes, they are, and they're doing what's called deterrence policing, where they're catching these people doing incredible speeds, which isn't hard in a souped up car. 30, 40 kilometers an hour over the speed limit, and then towing them and then putting it on Twitter, putting it on social media so that other people know not to do it as well. And it's called deterrence policing is how they do that. So, you're going to get into trouble. You're going to get caught. But if you're out in the middle of the day speeding on the 401, which you shouldn't be doing, yes, you're going to get caught. Gupta, thank you so much for those wishes. Awesome. And all the best to you as well, my friend. Thank you so much. Waldo, Mallory, checkerboard sign means hazards ahead, and I don't go straight. I used to think it meant end of road, as it usually seen at the end of the road. Waldo, no, and you're absolutely right. It doesn't mean end of the road, because we have one at the top of Suicide Hill here in Vernon. You can't go down Suicide Hill, so it indicates that it's only one way. And you're absolutely right. It just means that you either have to turn left or you have to turn right at that intersection. Odd, the box can come up without the driver noticing. The switch should be moved. Odd, how can the box come up without the driver noticing? Because most dump trucks have a window in the back, and all of a sudden it gets bright back there? Because my understanding is most dump trucks are day cabs. They're not sleepers. It's not covered in back there. There's a window back there. At least in the dump trucks that I've been in as well. I don't know. I just be paying attention. I think it's a lot of excuses, personally, is what I think it is. So, anyway. Tim says, truck reminds me, 4x4 means great, go, but remember that they have the same to stop. And yes, that's exactly what we were saying before, for sure. Nilajan, what could be practical speed to drive on a multi-occupants reserved lane in a freeway with 100 km/h speed limit, drive 119 but still being chased closely by being passed by frustrated drivers? Yeah, if the speed limit's 100 and you're doing 119, that's probably plenty. I wouldn't recommend that you drive much faster than that. Other people, people are always going to do that. They're always going to tailgate you. They're always going to tell you you're going too slow. My suggestion would just be move over to the right and let them go past you. Let them go and have their crash somewhere else is my advice to you. Brian, your videos have been really helpful. First time seeing you live. That's awesome. Welcome to the live stream, Brian. Great having you here, my friend. Odd, some don't hear it from a trucker buddy. Okay. Mallory, truck was dumping snow into Charlottetown Harbor one winter and knocked out the power. And yes, there's a number of hazards and issues that dump truck, tip truck drivers have, overhead power obstructions, those types of things. Odd, I agree that drivers should pay more attention. Yes. The other thing about dump truck drivers is some of them work really long hours, like 15, 16 hours a day, because they're not running logbooks and therefore are not subject to hours of service regulations. And, they could, if they've been running 6 or 7 days at 16 or 15 or 16 hours a day, these guys are like really, really tired. And, when drivers are fatigued, things happen, mistakes happen, and it's not unlikely that these things are going to happen, that the box, goes up while they're driving down the road. So, yeah. Tim, have a great dinner, my friend. All the best. Joe, when I was teaching my son, I'd point at sign every 5 or 10 minutes and ask him what it meant. All kinds of signs, not just speed limits. After a few dozen hours, he was pretty much 99% on the signs. And that is an awesome, awesome technique, Joe. When I was teaching truck drivers, and I used to ask them what the last sign was they went past, and a lot of them couldn't remember what the last sign was when they went past. I actually had one driver that was so frustrating because he didn't catch on to the game after about an hour when I asked him 2 or 3 times what the last sign was that he saw, because this was back in the days before GPS, and you had to pay attention to every sign. You had to read every sign. And I just told him to pull the truck over and run back and see what the sign was. And it was about half a mile back, the sign was. But, we didn't have a good relationship after that. He was very upset with me. Authentically Odd, working in film transport, live and turnaround long hours. Yes, indeed. Sketchy stuff. Do you agree that the only necessary button on a steering wheel is the horn? I'd make the cruise control come off the column behind the wheel. Um, I don't know. That's subjective. I mean, mine is on the steering wheel. I like it there. It's handy. It's easy to use. The Audi that Tracy has, the cruise control is up behind the steering wheel. I don't find it as convenient to use. I find it in a kind of a weird place. Tim says truckers are all subject to hours of service rules. They may be exempt from logs. I don't think that's true, Tim. For local drivers, I mean, if it is true for local drivers, it's not enforced. I know a lot of drivers running local, garbage truck drivers, dump truck drivers, those types of things, and they are working exceptionally long hours when they're driving. And as well, there's a lot of exceptions to working in the oil fields, doing certain industries and those types of things. It's something that I think that needs to be reconsidered, because working 15, 16 hours a day is just far too long behind the wheel for some of these drivers, for sure. Nilajan, why do I need to check blind spots manually if my car has blind spot indicators? What should I do in a test? Nilajan, do not rely on technology. Technology is a backup, okay? And oftentimes the blind spot detectors are too late in detecting that there's somebody in your blind area. Even though you have this technology on your vehicle, just use it as a backup. Still shoulder check. Look into your blind areas every time, because eventually one day you're going to rely on the technology and it's going to catch you out. It's not going to work for you. It's the same thing as having a backup camera. Even though you have a backup camera, still do your 360-degree checks. Still look out through the back window if you can. Use your beers. Use every tool possible to keep yourself safe when you're maneuvering the vehicle, and that includes shoulder checking, and use your technology as a simple backup device to keep yourself safe. Authentically Odd, everything is going digital in January. Odd, I hadn't heard that yet, that Canada was going to e-logs here. I know that the United States has gone to e-logs, but I wasn't sure when Canada was going to be doing it as well. Sketchy, if you can see your car in your side mirrors, they're improperly adjusted. No, Sketchy, you should be able to see a little bit of your car in your mirrors, just on the inside, to have them properly adjusted. There's a video here, 9 techniques to set up the car, and have a look at that. That'll give you information on how to set up the mirrors for your vehicle. Yeah, okay, thank you, Waldo. That's excellent. Elevator, I've seen trucks in the left lane in construction zones where there are signs saying no trucks in the left lane. Elevator, same thing with the vehicles running red lights and running stop signs. Trucks are going to do goofy things. Drivers are going to do goofy things. They're going to tailgate you. They're going to be in the wrong lane. I followed a truck up the hill coming out of one of the cities here in the valley, in the Okanagan Valley where I live, and, out in the left lane, 3 lanes, and, not even doing the speed limit, and I posted it as a YouTube short, and I just got hung out to dry in the comments. People saying, oh, he's passing other vehicles, vehicles, but it's, trucks aren't supposed to be in the 3rd lane, and it wasn't even doing the speed limit, so it is what it is. Nudge, adaptive cruise control, stop for nothing on a 70 highway because of the change in light during sunset, and yes, that's going to happen. Technology is yet not reliable. This is why we are not going to have self-driving cars in this century. All right. All right. Yeah, Nilajan. Adaptive cruise control sometimes is going to work, sometimes it's not. All right. So I was asked earlier about passing your driver's test. What do you need to do to pass your driver's test? Driver's test consists of 4 basic components: space management, speed management, observation, and communication. For space management, If you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit anything. You need to stop at the correct stopping position at stop sign intersections, before the stop line, before the crosswalk, or if there isn't a crosswalk lines, then before the sidewalk. If those two conditions don't exist, then at the edge of the intersection, just before entering the intersection, is your correct stopping position. If you're stopped in a line of traffic, stop approximately one vehicle length from the vehicle in front of you. And you can know that because you can see the tires of the vehicle in front making clear contact with the pavement. Don't drive through an intersection that you can't clear. For example, the traffic is backed up into the intersection. You wait on this side of the intersection when the traffic clears, then you can drive through the intersection. If you're in an intersection when the light turns red, you ran a red light and it's an automatic fail on a driver's test. So you must maintain a 3 to 4 second following distance for the duration of your driver's test. 3 to 4 seconds is approximately 10 to 15 car lengths when driving in the city at 30 miles an hour, 50 kilometers an hour. So that's space management. Speed management is posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. And when I say flow of traffic, so traffic's backed up and driving less than 30 miles an hour and driving 25, then you can only drive 25 because that's how fast the traffic is going. So that's speed management. Observation, you have to have a forward scanning pattern that includes looking far down the road, in checking your center mirror far down the road, check your instrument panel far down the road, and then check one wing mirror far down the road, and then check your other wing mirror. And that forward scanning pattern repeats itself every 10 to 15 seconds while you're driving. Reversing, you need to look out through the back window when you're reversing. 360-degree scan before you put the vehicle in motion. If you have a backup camera, you can check it. Mirrors, check your mirrors, but you must look out through the back window for the duration of your reversing. You can put your one hand on the back of the passenger seat, and that will help you to get your hips around to look out through the back window. If you've got a big pickup truck or a vehicle that you can't see out the back window, then just fake it till you make it, okay? Just pretend that you're looking out the back window. But checking your mirrors, checking your backup camera to back up safely when you're reversing. Lane changes. You need to be able to execute lane changes. Mirror signal shoulder check. 3 flashes minimum on the signal. Look forward. Shoulder check again. When the way is cleared, then you can proceed. You need to speed up slightly when you're changing lanes. Don't do what the person did today, put their signal on. I'm waiting for them to change lanes, and then they come to a stop right in the middle of the roadway so that I could go past them. Some people do goofy things because they haven't been taught properly how to do lane merges. It's a required skill on a driver's test. So that's observation. And the last one is communication. You need to communicate effectively with other road users on the roadway. The number one way that we communicate is position of our vehicle on the roadway. There's a good chance that if a vehicle is in the left turning lane, it's going to turn left. If a pedestrian is standing in a crosswalk, he or she is going to cross the roadway. Number 2, lights and signals. Signal every time you change directions of the vehicle, both forward and backward. If you're backing out of a parking space, make sure you signal in the direction that you're going. Parallel parking, make sure that you signal in the direction you're going. 3-point turns, when you come across the roadway, you're going to back up to the right, so make sure that you signal to the right because that's the way that the back end of your vehicle is going to go. Signaling effectively, shoulder checking every time you change directions, even if you have blind spot detectors as we were talking about earlier. You still need to shoulder check. And if position of the vehicle, position of the road user, or lights and signals, then eye contact, hand gestures, and the horn. Use your horn sparingly in this day and age because it's seen as a sign of aggression. So just a light tap. If somebody's sitting at the light and checking their phone and they're not going when the light turns green, just a light tap on the phone will tell them that they need to go when the light has turned green. So those are the 4 components of any driver's test that you need to fulfill to pass the driving test. The driving examiner's job is to assess your ability to handle the vehicle safely in changing traffic conditions. Nothing less, nothing more. Your job is to take away the driving examiner's right to fail you. Nothing less, nothing more. If you're going for perfection, it's probably not going to happen. You're probably going to get dinged 1 or 2 points. You're going to be assigned demerit points for minor errors. You deviate out of your lane a little bit, you're going to get 5 points. Your turn was too wide. Those types of things. Major errors are going to get 15 to 20 points. And if it's a dangerous action where somebody else has to make an evasive maneuver, or you're at high risk of a crash, then that's going to be an automatic fail. Corey will put up the 2 videos for you on common mistakes on a driver's test or automatic fails on a driver's test, and those will help you out. Banana, I failed my road test at ICBC Kelowna because I entered the left turn lane wrong, which was a violation. I was told everything else was perfect, but I failed because of that one mistake. Sorry about that, Banana. I know it's really a drag that you didn't pass, but know that you can take the test again. You're going to do just great, okay? Epic, my friend, when driving on the highway, provided there are 3 lanes, which lane do you use to go to the speed limit? Northeast United States is the middle or right shared with commercial vehicles. Most of the time, Epic, if there's 3 lanes, I will drive in the middle lane. That's going to be your best lane to drive in. All right, we must be doing something right and getting popular because we're getting spam tonight in the stream. Thank you, Corey, for taking care of all that spamming. Mallory, don't forget to use your driver's commentary on the driver's test, and absolutely, whatever you are learning, any new skill that you're trying to acquire, use running commentary and just go through what you're doing, what you're looking at, what you're observing, potential hazards when you're driving. Corey will put up the video on running commentary, and that will really help you out to solidify the skills. Because if you're talking about what you're doing and you're doing it at the same time, your retention level is going to be about 80 or 90%. It's much, much higher than if you're just quietly doing the driving. All right, so have a running commentary. It's the same thing. You know, I've been doing Duolingo for a couple, 3 years now, and now they have the lessons where you actually have to speak the language and make responses and those types of things. I'm actually learning more French in the last couple of months with that ability which forces me to talk and speak French. So talking is going to help you acquire a new skill much, much faster. Randy, if you know the truth that okay, invest over 1 billion self-driving semi-trucks, is this a fact? Randy, I'm sure that there is huge amounts of money being poured into R&D, because if these companies can come up with self-driving semi-trucks, which, you know, more or less we already have, then they're going to save millions of dollars. Well, I don't know. Depends how much a self-driving truck costs. But they're going to save a lot of money in terms of employee costs and insurance costs, crash costs, all those kinds of things. So yes, there's no doubt that they're spending all kinds of money. But the problem is, or the challenge that they face, is if one of these self-driving trucks on a highway or freeway crashes into a personal vehicle with a mom and a baby in it, this whole enterprise is cut off at the knees. It's the same thing as what happened to Uber and what happened to Tesla with their self-driving cars. They've had 2 or 3 crashes. Innocent people have been killed, and because of those fatalities, the whole self-driving vehicle enterprise has basically gone away. I mean, we don't really hear too much about it anymore. I mean, we hear about Tesla every now and again, but that's all it takes is one crash with fatalities, and unfortunately these self-driving enterprises are not going to be invested in anymore. And personally, it's not a reality. I don't think that it's a reality. And actually, I have a video that I think I put up 3, 4, 5 years ago, maybe now, where I said we're not going to see self-driving cars in this century. And there's other people that still believe otherwise. They still think that these self-driving trucks are going to happen. And these companies are spending huge amounts of money because, employees are a lot of energy, time, and investment to keep these people doing what you need them to do. because you know the problems are just incredible. I mean, getting them to deliver freight and drive the truck is just one thing, but I mean, many of them, there are not whole fleets, but there's at least one or two people who work in these big companies, Werner and Swift and other places, that all they do is they go around and collect equipment, because drivers go to work for these big companies and they get down the road, they get upset because the dispatcher says something to them, and they just drive in somewhere in a parking lot or a rest area or a truck stop or someplace like that. They just park the truck, they get on a bus or they get on a plane, and they go home, and they just leave the equipment there, and they don't tell anybody where they put it. They don't call the company. They just like, screw you, I'm done. So they have 2 or 3 people in the company that is their job, that they go and recover equipment. And this is the reason, because the driver shortage problem, getting drivers to do what you need them to do, the wages, the cost of insurance, fatalities, crashes, all of those things make this an enterprise worth pursuing for sure. Elevator, I always use the inside turn lane when I turn left on a multi-lane turn, unless I need to turn right away, because I like to leave the outside turn lane for trucks. And that works, elevator, for sure. Norman, which country are you referring to? Norman, I'm referring to the United States. Goose, I perform a running commentary for my students on their 9th or 10th hour, usually after they do their mock road test with me. They get a lot out of observing me to drive, and yes, they do. Goose, they get a lot of good information for sure. Sketchy stuff. There's a minimum level of autonomy required for self-driving vehicles to not wreck. Those vehicles were not at that high of level of autonomy, so there you go. And yes, and I don't think they're going to be at that level of autonomy for some time to come for sure. Corey, getting through the regulatory states, the challenge of auto-navigating through less than ideal predictable road scenarios, big challenges for self-driving industry, I think. And you're absolutely correct, Corey, in talking about how difficult it is to navigate cities for these computers. The absolute, and this is where I'll leave this with the self-driving vehicles is 5 years ago, it had to have been 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I was approached by this company that was going to retrofit vehicles back to 2013 to be self-driving vehicles. And I thought about this for a couple of weeks about whether I was going to come on board with the team and those types of things. And then I thought about it afterwards, and I thought you can take any section of roadway at any given time, in any given day, and that section of roadway will never, ever be able to be replicated, because that section of roadway will have a different combination of vehicles, and it will have a different combination of drivers every single second of every single day. And you can never replicate that. And no computer at this juncture on this planet can keep up with that. And the other piece about self-driving cars is they say, it's good for a computer can do this, and then they compare traffic safety to airplanes and trains and ships. The thing about airplanes, trains, and ships, there's a whole support crew in the background. And with these self-driving cars, especially the Google car, there's a whole team of people in the background monitoring and tracking that vehicle and making sure that it's staying safe. It's not just the self-driving car out and around itself. So know that there's a whole team of people in the background, and hopefully for these self-driving cars, there's going to be a lot more R&D before they're out on our roadways, because I don't think it's going to happen just yet. And there's the video, self-driving cars and 6 reasons why these won't be coming soon. And I don't know, I don't remember what the date was on that. Mallory says, Leslie Jordan died yesterday in a car crash, and yes, that's very unfortunate. And this is the other piece about traffic crashes, is nobody's immune from traffic crashes. Princess Diana, Leslie Jordan here, Paul Walker, in a real big sense of irony, who was famous for appearing in the the movie franchise The Fast and the Furious. So we are not immune to traffic crashes, so keep yourself safe when driving. Sketchy, there are some vehicles at that level of autonomy here in the lower 48, but they're not seen every day. You have to have a particular rideshare service to use them, so that makes it worse. Yes, and the other problem with this transition where you kind of have self-driving vehicles and the driver has to monitor this is the problem that when the car gives you a signal or a warning that something's happening and the driver needs to intervene and take over, by the time that the driver gets back into the traffic situation, it's far too late at that juncture. There just simply isn't enough time for the driver to come back in, get a hold of the controls, and to assess the situation and take evasive action. So that's the other issue with all of this, is the advanced warning system for the driver to come back in is not long enough for safety, for matters of safety. Fish around. Well, I never knew about all the people behind the scenes when it comes to the self-driving cars. Fish around. Yeah, there's a lot of people at Google who operate and monitor and track the Google cars that go around and do all the mapping that provide us with Google Maps. So know that for the purposes of staying safe. Elevator fan, don't get pressured when you are driving. Absolutely focus on what you're doing when you're driving. That is the most important skill for new drivers to keep yourself safe and to keep yourself out of trouble. Wyatt, one of the actors in The Jacket, died in a car accident. Scotty from the new Star Trek movies died from a non-running car incident. No, not... what's his name? Shaun of the Dead. Hot Fuzz. Not that guy. Please don't tell me that he passed. Jonathan, self-driving cars are very bad, Rick. I don't know whether they're very bad. I'm very much looking forward to self-driving cars, but I want them to be proven safe before I actually get in and move around in a self-driving car for sure. So, sketchy elevator fan, basically don't listen to the people in the passenger seat unless it's instructor or it's part of their job. Am I right? Sketchy, yeah, you can, people in the passenger seat and other people in the vehicle will help you out if you're driving. I mean, if they're, having a running commentary beaking off in your ear, then obviously don't listen to what they're saying. But if they're like, oh, hey, because they're looking too, right? There's a car coming here on the right, and you can't quite see because there's a bush or a shrub or something there on the corner, then yes, listen to them if they're helping you out. But if they're just beaking off and telling you what you need to do or what you don't need to do, then absolutely not. So there you go. Excellent. Jazz, I really like your driving lessons with beginners. I've learned so much from them. Jazz, thank you so much. So happy that we can help out for sure. Check out Pass Your Driver's Test First Time course package over at the Smart Drive Test website. You can pick that up for about $38. US guaranteed that you'll pass your driver's test first time. As well, we include both the winter driving and defensive driving smart courses. And of course, we're in late fall, winter. There has been snow in Alberta, and the winter driving smart course will definitely help you out with your winter driving. As well, have a look at the night driving video. We're driving more at night now because darkness is coming earlier. So take care, drive at night. Look for your landmarks and those types of things. Wyatt, never mind, it was Chekhov. Never was a big Star Trek fan. I always thought he was Scotty. Okay, Wyatt, because I really like the actor and I can't think of his name right now. It's driving me nuts. But I don't remember who the actor was that was Chekhov. But it is still unfortunate and sad, and my condolences. All right, so we'll leave it there for tonight. Thank you so much for all of your questions. If you passed your driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations. If you have a driver's test coming up in the next few days, good luck on that. Remember to breathe and pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.